Alright, so I don't know how to intro this video because I have no idea what these are. Like, I just don't know. So one of our faithful supporters and Patreon members, DMC, who has, sent me some great stuff in the past, he reached out to me about a month ago. He's like, hey, I want to send you a blind. And then he sent me 4 samples and an envelope, including what's in there. Now, it is sealed, as you can see. It is not open, so I've got no idea what's in there. Then he said, hey, wait. I want to send one more. I want to add to it. He sent me one more and a separate envelope for that one. So, again, sealed. So, I don't know what these are. I don't know if there's a theme here or if there's no theme. But here's what I'm going to do. DMC tends to send me some pretty freaking good stuff. So, I kind of have high expectations. Maybe he's messing with me. Maybe it's all bottom shelfers. I don't know. But I'm going to try all these. My goal is not necessarily to, identify them. My goal is to rank them. And actually, one of our other supporters, Mr. Mendoza, Steven, sent me these little scoring cards so I could, show you, oh, this is my 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, you know what I mean? So I'll probably put those to use today. I'm going to have to edit out 5 minutes of me just trying to peel the plastic off these. Holy cow. Stuff is stuck on there good. This is just the first one. It's on the inside too. Why is it on the inside of these two? Why would you do that? My wife will tell you that I have an obscure pet peeve that just I have pure hatred for stickers. I hate stickers. I hate when people put stickers on products that I buy. You know what I mean? It's I just want the product to look clean, and then you put this dumb sticker on it that I have to literally get hot water and soap to get all of the residue off. And it just, frankly, it pisses me off more than it should, but it does. I get irrationally upset about it. It literally has been 5 minutes. Holy cow. Okay, well, I got my notebook here. I'm gonna take some notes as I taste, and then we'll rank them and find out what they are. Let me get these poured, let them open up. Okay, so what I'll probably do is then when I go and I edit the video, at that point I'll obviously know what these have been. So I'll go ahead and put them on the screen for you. So as I'm tasting them, you know what I'm tasting. So if I say something that's totally off as I'm, going over tasting notes, you can laugh about it. We'll start right here with glass A. Woo! Okay. Big ethanol vibes on the nose, and I think a big league chew. The, the shredded bubble gum. It's like baseball season, right? And, my son's got baseball games. It's taking me back to when I was a kid playing baseball in, the local town league. And after every game, running up to the concession stand, getting a pack of Big League Chew. There's also a sort of funkiness on this, too. A little barrel funkiness, some warehouse funk. And there's a serious candy sweetness on the nose that makes me think of, Smarties. A pack of Smarties. All right, well, let's try it. What in the world is that? What even is that? It's sweet and bitter. It's bitter and sweet. The finish is all sweet, but up front I'm getting sort of these bitter tannic qualities. I think of an herbal tea. Some I don't know, maybe medicinal vegetal notes on just the tip of the tongue, right at the very front of the palate there. And then it transitions into all those candy sweetness notes that we were getting on the nose. They come in a little bit behind that bitterness, and they're playful right there in the middle. They kind of play off of one another there in the middle of the palate before the full transition. Yeah, sweet and vegetal, sweet and earthy. That's a peculiar sip. That's different. Not in a bad way. And the sweetness on it is, I don't know, it's so candy-like, not caramely. You know what I mean? I think more like cotton candy and chewing gum. Bubble gum. Yeah, interesting sip. Huh. We'll move on to glass B here. First thing I got on the nose of this was friggin' waffles. Like a stack of waffles at Waffle House. Not like this fancy Belgian waffle, you know what I'm saying? No, this is just a stack of syrupy waffles with butter on it. There's a creamy milkiness in there too. That's interesting. That's like breakfast in a glass. Almost like buttercream frosting on that. I don't like that nose. Let's try it. It's got a subtle sweetness to it. It's interesting. It's like a licorice sandwich in some ways, where it starts sweet and then it kind of moves into these sort of anise notes. Makes you think of Pernod, and then right back to sweet. But there's that that bitter licorice note right there smack dab in the middle, but it's sandwiched in between two sweet sections of the palate. Up front, it's more butterscotchy, and then the sweetness that you get at the end is much more candy notes. I should think of like those cherry sours on the tail end of it. It reminds me a lot of Buffalo Trace distillate in a lot of ways. You know, I often get that cherry and amaretto sweetness on a lot of like Buffalo Trace Mash Bill 1 stuff. Yeah, that reminds me of it. That's pretty good. Next. Okay, so this is Glass C. Whoa. Okay, so the nose on this one. I think of 4 specific notes on the nose. Oak and brown sugar are 2 of them. First and foremost, lots of oak, lots of brown sugar on this nose. The next 2 things, a little different. And this might sound weird. I get rosemary and a floral note. Rosemary and floral notes. Now that might sound a little peculiar, but it's the truth. And that oak is not a young oak. It's like well-seasoned oak on that nose. And y'all are laughing at me because probably up here somewhere it's saying like some 2-year-old bourbon or something. I don't know. But it smells like it's got some maturity on that oak. Well seasoned. And you know, to be fair, the oak can be very well seasoned and very mature without the whiskey in the barrel being old and mature. Because, you know, the whole process of seasoning the oak, you know, you can... as a distiller, make certain choices about the kind of oak that you're going to be using and requesting that your cooper is using in your barrels. And you could do oak that has been out seasoning in the open air for, you know, over 2 years, or you can use oak planks that were seasoning, you know, out in the open air for 6 months. You know, it really does depend. You know? And they're constantly hosing them down, stripping out the astringency and those more tannic notes. And as it matures and the good kind of fungus is growing inside the wood in those seasoning lumber yards, a lot of times a lot more maturity will come forward because the lignins are breaking down in the oak and you're getting a lot more of the vanillins and those tasty brown sugar notes. And we are getting brown sugar on the nose. All right, let's try it. Ha. That is really oak forward. Very oaky, this delicate toasted oak. And it's peppery. There's some pepperiness in there too, which I really like. Goes well with that sweet oak. Lots of brown sugars. It makes me think of specifically maple and brown sugar Quaker oatmeal on the palate. Just a great toasted sweetness. I wouldn't be surprised if this was like a double oaked product. In a lot of ways, it reminds me of this bottle. The JD, Jack Daniel's Twice Barreled Tennessee Rye Whiskey. This was their, like, you know, it was a double oaked rye whiskey that they did, which was phenomenal. I don't think it is this, but it reminds me of this in a lot of ways. I just want to keep drinking it. Man, it's a lot of oak. Love that. Moving on to letter D. Well, what am I... My brain jumped somewhere. Where is it? Where are you going? Butterscotch pudding? The kind we'd get in snack packs at lunch in elementary school. Butterscotch pudding on the nose. A real sweet pecan pie on the nose. Yeah, good autumn dessert whiskey on the nose right here. Awfully sweet. And a nice subtle oak in there too. All right, let's try it. Let me real quick, because it's on the forefront of my mind, jump past the palate a bit and talk about the finish. It tastes like a black tea or maybe a chai tea, like a sweet tea and oak. Very woody, and those herbal notes in there too on the finish. Up front on the palate, I think of like Necco wafers. Remember the Necco wafers when we were kids? They were like quarters. They were like shaped like quarters in all different colors, very pastel colors, and they were sweet. I mean, they were candy. Lots of sugary sweetness in there, and that powdery, you know, sort of texture on the tongue. But they were also, they had like these licorice notes and sort of medicinal qualities about them too. That's where my mind goes with the palate of this, which is pretty different than the nose, which was making me think of like pudding, you know, butterscotch pudding and pecan pie. Much more herbal on the palate than on the nose. Yeah, that's peculiar. It does sort of have legacy distiller vibes about it. And maybe I'm totally off. Maybe this is a Georgia distillery or Texas whiskey. I'm going to say no, it's not a Texas whiskey. There's no shot this is a Texas whiskey. I will say that. If it was distilled in Texas, it sure as heck wasn't aged there. Very interesting. Let's move on to the last one. El Final, letter E. The nose on this one is reminding me a little bit of Glass B in some ways. I get sticky, sweet maple. It makes me think of those like the cinnamon bun, cinnamon swirl donuts. You get like a variety pack on a Sunday morning for the family, and you bring a bunch of them home. And there's always that one that's like the cinnamon bun. It's sort of curled in on itself, with the cinnamon kind of in the creases with the icing on top. Yeah, kind of yeasty and doughy with some sweet cinnamon notes in there on that sticky, syrupy quality about it. I like that nose. All right, let's try it. Nice little spicy quality in there. That cinnamon swirl donut note is pretty spot on the palate. It is sweet, doughy, sticky, cinnamon. Like a good cinnamon roll. There's also plenty of oak on the palate too. Some nice seasoned oak in there. Palate makes me think of literally walking into a warehouse. Reminds me of tours I've taken of warehouses with barrels just stacked on barrels. And all that boozy oak in the air. You love it. Love that smell. Palate reminds me of that. I like this one a lot. I'm noticing it's pretty thick too. Running down the sides of the glass, these big, thick. Look at that. Is a camera picking that up? That is so sticky, like honey. Okay, after my first pass, I sort of have written down my notes. I've scored them individually, and I think I have a pretty good sense of where they're going to fall for me in terms of ranking, but I'm going to hit them one more time with the last sip, and then I'll solidify my rankings here. And then we'll crack them open and find out what they were. Okay, I've got my rankings. I think I'm good to go. All right, in 5th place, last place for today, it wasn't bad. Don't get me wrong, I think these were all really good pours, but last place for today, Glass A. Coming in last place. This is the one we said we got a lot of ethanol on the nose, a little bit of barrel funk, some big league chew, the bubblegum cotton candy sweetness, but also some earthiness right there on the palate as well. That one's going to take last place for me. But moving on to our 4th place pour. 4th place is going to go to letter D. This is the one we said we got like some Necco wafers, tea, and oak. And maybe some licorice notes in there too. That one's going to take 4th place. In 3rd place, I'm going to give 3rd place to Glass B. This is the one on the nose. We got waffles, syrup, and sort of this creamy, milky buttercream sort of a note on the nose. We said some amaretto notes late into the palate and into the finish, but it was sort of that licorice sandwich, the anise notes right there in the middle. That one's going to take 3rd place. I actually really like that one. Okay, so that means we're down to our top 2. So I'm going to give my 2nd place. That's going to immediately tell you what my 1st place is. But 2nd place is going to go to the last one, Glass E. They're going to fit there? Stay put. 2nd place goes to Glass E. This is the one that we said had that sticky, sweet maple note. It was like the cinnamon swirl donut, yeasty, doughy. Really liked that pour. Which means, obviously, our 1st place going to Glass C. This is the one that I said had this wonderful brown sugar, oaky quality to it. This toasted oak with some pepperiness, but lots of brown sugar in there, too. Remind me of the maple and brown sugar Quaker oatmeal. And maybe even sort of some double oaked sort of notes on that as well. If it's not a double oaked product, then it's got some great oak influence in a single barrel. And that one's going to take 1st place. All right, very interesting lineup. Thanks so much, DMC, for sharing with me. Let's find out what these were. I'll crack open both these envelopes. This has the first 4, and then this one has Glass E. Ah! Okay, so last place went to, I'm going to try and cover these up. Ryan, you finished the 10-year blind. Here are the results. 10-year blind, huh? Well, that explains why we were getting a lot of oak influence on many of these. 10-year blind, huh? Okay, well, let's do this. We've got, so 5th place, last place, went to Glass A, which was Michter's 10-year bourbon, 2023, 94.4 proof. So, so last place goes to Michter's 10-year bourbon. And like I said, none of these were bad by any stretch. Yeah, I actually liked all of these. So, but that one I think I like the least for today. So that was Michter's 10-year bourbon. Okay. So fourth place went to glass 4, which is D. D. No way! Okay. So this is Old Fitz 10-year bottled in bond, spring of 2023 release. Old Fitz. I never had that one. Old Fitz 10-year bottled in bond, spring 2023. This is the one we got that, the nose was kind of different than the palate. The nose was really sweet like butterscotch and pecan pie, but then the finish, the palate was, we got like Necco wafers and tea and oak. It does not surprise me looking back at my notes at just how much oak influence we were getting on a lot of these, because if they're all 10 plus years, it's going to be a ton of oak. Ton of it. Okay, so fourth place went to Old Fitzgerald. Third place was Glass B. Glass B. You know what? I kind of called this as Buffalo Trace Mash Bill 1 distillate, didn't I? I said this reminds me of Buffalo Trace Mash Bill 1. This is Eagle Rare, 10-year, which I've got some, I'm covering it up. There, right there. There's some of that right there. Excellent. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. We said we got the amaretto notes there, and it reminded me of Buffalo Trace Mash Bill 1. Spot on. Spot on. Down to the top 2. So second place went to Glass E. Really? Okay. Glass E. Old Forester 1924. I have not managed to get my hands on a bottle of this. Part of it is being in Michigan. Like, we just get stuff really late. And when we do, it's really sporadic. And there's really no rhyme or reason. So you just kind of have to be in the right place at the right time. And I do not have a bottle of Old Forester 1924. Thank you so much for sharing that with me, DMC. That's it. You're like you said, these are heavy hitters. You were not wrong. Which means... Okay. It's funny. First place goes to Michter's 10-year rye. And it's funny because I said it reminded me of Jack Daniel's twice-barreled rye, which is a ton of toasted sweet oak and peppery rye, whiskey on the palate. And Michter's 10 years is the only one in here that's not a bourbon. 10-year rye. This is the 2022 one, 92.8 proof. Well, I got a type. I'm a big fan of really good, mature, oaky ryes. I've got a type, I guess. So Michter's 10-year rye taking first place tonight, followed by Old Forester 1924. I gotta say, 1924 kind of surprised me then, taking second place. From what I've heard about it, a lot of people saying, and honestly, from what I expected, because I did not really get down with things like, the Knob Creek 18. I didn't really get down too much with the Elijah. I need to move my dumb head. Elijah Craig 18-year. I was like, man, it's just all oak, and I like oak, but I like it when it's accompanied by other things. And a lot of people were saying that the 1924 was the same as those, but I would say at first sip, I kind of like it more than those. Doesn't surprise me that Eagle Rare smack dab in the middle there, third place out of 5, smack dab in the center. I think that's just a great value for the age and the profile that you're getting off of something that's that old, and only for $35-40. That's pretty crazy. Excellent price on that bottle. Then we had the Old Fitzgerald, 4th place, Michter's 10-year bourbon, 5th place. Hey, DMC, these you're right. These are all heavy hitters, man. Thank you so much for sharing these with me. That is so generous of you. I guess I need to go out and get a bottle of Michter's 10-year rye. It's just, that's all there is to it. What a great blind. Thanks so much for sending these to me. That was a lot of fun. Hey, if you enjoyed the video, hey, let me know by leaving a like on it. Let me know how you think you would have ranked these yourself. Obviously, you can't do the blind unless you've set it up for yourself. But just kind of sort of knowing what's in the glasses and what you've tried and what you like, how do you think you would have ranked these yourself? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for tuning into the video. Really appreciate it. Grab glass C. Hey, make sure you check the link in the description to a link to our Discord. Get in there, introduce yourself. We'd love to meet you. And feel free to hit the subscribe button. Stick around. Take your shoes off. Kick back. Stay a while. Cheers, my friends. May you live richly. That was loud. And get better with age. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye-bye.